The Korthani Empire had conquered 847 worlds across 12 galactic sectors. Their intelligence reports on Earth's third planet had been thorough, or so they believed. Humans, according to their xenobiological surveys, were a peaceful species that had only recently achieved spaceflight. Their conflicts were small, localized, and conducted with primitive kinetic weapons. The Korthani military strategists had classified Earth as a Category 1 pacification minimal resistance expected. Admiral Vextar commanded the Korthani expeditionary fleet from his flagship, the Hegemony's Fist. Through the vessel's viewport, Earth hung like a blue marble, serene and unsuspecting. His briefing materials indicated that humans had not engaged in major warfare for nearly 80 Earth years, focusing instead on trade, diplomacy, and what their crude communication networks called humanitarian efforts. A species afraid of conflict, Vextar mused to his tactical coordinator. This will be over within solar cycles. The first landing sites were strategically chosen major population centers where swift occupation would demonstrate Korthani superiority and minimize casualties. The Empire, after all, preferred intact infrastructure and living workers to radioactive craters. The initial landings went exactly as predicted. In Brussels, Geneva, and New York, Korthani forces established control points with minimal resistance. Local security forces, armed with projectile weapons that couldn't penetrate Korthani energy shields, surrendered quickly. News broadcasts showed humans waving white flags and forming orderly queues for processing. See? Vextar told his staff. Exactly as intelligence predicted. A docile species that chooses submission over bloodshed. Then the Korthani tried to land in Norfolk, Virginia. The first dropship never made it to the ground. Something called a Patriot missile system turned the Korthani landing craft into expanding balls of plasma before they could deploy their energy shields. The second wave met similar fates from weapons the humans designated as THA-AD and Aegis. This is unexpected, admitted tactical coordinator Zephron, studying the tactical display. Intelligence indicated no orbital defense capability. A fluke, Vextar declared. Send the assault carriers. Overwhelming force. The assault carriers were Korthani capital ships, each capable of reducing a city to ash. As they descended through Earth's atmosphere toward what the humans called Camp Pendleton, they encountered something that shouldn't have existed: human fighters moving at impossible speeds, launching projectiles that somehow penetrated Korthani shields. How are they achieving these velocities with chemical propulsion? Zephron demanded. Before anyone could answer, one of the assault carriers exploded. The humans had somehow fired a projectile from beyond visual range that had torn through the ship's hull like it was made of crystallized water. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Audio only." "Put it through." A gravelly human voice filled the command deck, speaking in what their translators identified as English, with a distinct regional accent. "Unknown aircraft. This is General Patterson, United States Marine Corps. You are in violation of sovereign airspace. Withdraw immediately, or we will consider this an act of war." Vextar's translator struggled with the concept. War? But their psychological profiles indicate. "You have 30 seconds to comply," the voice continued. "Be advised, we have assets in position." "Assets?" Vextar laughed, a sound like grinding crystals. "We are the Korthani Empire. We have conquered nearly 1,000 worlds. You threaten us with assets?" There was a pause. Then, "Roger that. You want to do this the hard way. Marines, weapons free. Show these boys what American firepower looks like." What happened next would later be classified in Korthani military archives as the Norfolk incident and used as a case study in intelligence failures. The humans called it Tuesday. From concealed positions that Korthani sensors couldn't detect, something called Abrams tanks began firing depleted uranium rounds that punched through Korthani armor like tissue paper. Aircraft with designations like F-35 and A-10 appeared from nowhere, moving too fast to track, releasing ordnance that turned Korthani ground forces into expanding clouds of superheated metal. But it wasn't just the weapons that shocked the Korthani, it was the tactical sophistication. The humans fought with a coordination and brutality that spoke of centuries of refined warfare. They used something called combined arms tactics, integrating air support, artillery, armor, and infantry into a seamless killing machine. "Sir," Zephron reported, his voice shaking, "we're receiving multiple communications from our ground forces. They're requesting immediate extraction." "Impossible. Korthani warriors don't retreat." "Sir, the humans. They're not fighting like the intelligence reports suggested. They're using weapons we've never encountered, tactics that seem specifically designed to counter our technology. And they're enjoying it." On the tactical display, Korthani forces were being systematically destroyed by what appeared to be a relatively small human force. The efficiency was terrifying. Where the Korthani had expected cowering civilians, they'd found professional soldiers who fought with the kind of cold, calculated violence that only came from extensive practice. A new transmission crackled through the communication system. This voice was different, younger, with an accent their translators couldn't place. "Yo, alien dudes. This is Captain Rodriguez, 2N Battalion, 1 Est Marines. We just lit up your buddies on grid Charlie 7. You might want to check your intel, 'cause we ain't the peace-loving hippies you thought we were." Another voice joined in. "This is Sergeant Wilson, Delta Force. We've been watching your tactics for the last 6 hours. Gotta say, pretty disappointing. Did you guys actually conquer other planets, or did they just surrender out of embarrassment?" Vexstar stared at the tactical display in growing horror. His invasion force, designed to subjugate a peaceful species, was being dismantled by warriors who seemed to treat warfare as both art and entertainment. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "I've been reviewing our files on human conflicts. There appears to have been a significant oversight in our assessment." "What kind of oversight?" "Well, sir, it seems that while humans haven't engaged in what they term world wars recently, they've been conducting smaller conflicts continuously. These Americans alone have been in a state of military action for 226 out of the last 250 Earth years. That's impossible." "Our psychological profiles indicated." "Sir, our psychological profiles were based on their entertainment broadcasts and diplomatic communications. We didn't account for the fact that they might have, essentially, a warrior caste that specializes in violence while the civilian population pursues peaceful activities." Another transmission interrupted them. "Admiral Vexstar, yeah, we know who you are. This is General Patterson again. You boys seem a little confused about who you're dealing with. Let me clarify. You just picked a fight with the species that invented napalm, Agent Orange, and drone warfare. We've been perfecting the art of killing people efficiently for about 10,000 years. And we're very, very good at it." The general's voice carried an undertone that the Korthani translator couldn't quite process, but Vexstar understood it instinctively. It was the sound a predator made before it struck. "Now," Patterson continued, "you can pull your people back and we can discuss this like civilized beings. Or you can keep pushing and find out why we have more words for artillery barrage than most species have for hello." Looking at his tactical display, where Korthani forces were being systematically eliminated by humans who seemed to approach warfare with the enthusiasm of artists practicing their craft, Admiral Vexstar made a decision that would save the Korthani Empire considerable embarrassment. He ordered the retreat. As the Korthani fleet withdrew, General Patterson's final transmission followed them into space. Why all come back now? You hear? We'll be waiting.